The rain was falling hard that night, the kind that turns streets into rivers and hope into something fragile. Most people hurried past the old, abandoned warehouse without a second glance. But Daniel wasn't most people. As he walked toward his car after a late shift at work, he heard a faint sound that stopped him cold, a soft, trembling whimper coming from the alley behind the building. It was almost drowned out by the storm, but it was there. Desperate, helpless, alive. At first, Daniel thought it might be his imagination. He was tired, soaked, and eager to get home. Yet something tugged at him. Against his better judgment, he followed the sound, using his phone flashlight to guide him through the darkness. Behind a pile of broken crates, he saw her, a thin, shivering mother dog curled protectively around 4 tiny puppies. Their fur was matted, their bodies weak, and their eyes filled with fear. Someone had left them there to die. Daniel felt his heart break in an instant. He had never owned a pet. He didn't know the first thing about caring for animals. But in that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the terrified mother staring up at him, too exhausted to even growl, and the small lives depending on her. He knelt down slowly and whispered, "Hey there, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The dog didn't move, but she watched him carefully, her body trembling. Daniel took off his jacket, ignoring the cold rain soaking through his shirt, and gently draped it over the puppies. He knew he couldn't leave them there. Not like this. After a few tense minutes, he managed to coax the mother dog into a cardboard box he found nearby and carefully carried the entire little family to his car. That ride home changed Daniel's life forever. He set them up in his small apartment bathroom with blankets, warm towels, and bowls of water. The mother dog, whom he soon named Grace, was wary at first. She flinched at every movement, as if kindness were something unfamiliar and frightening. The puppies were worse off, hungry, cold, and clearly only days old. Daniel spent the entire night researching online, calling emergency vet numbers, and doing everything he could to keep them safe. By morning, he was exhausted, but determined. The veterinarian confirmed what Daniel feared. Grace was severely malnourished. The puppies were weak and needed constant care. The vet praised him for bringing them in when he did. "Another day out there," she said softly, "and they might not have made it." Hearing that made Daniel realize how close this little family had come to disappearing forever. Over the next few weeks, his life revolved around them. He woke up early to bottle feed the puppies. He cleaned messes, gave Grace medicine, and spent his evenings sitting on the bathroom floor talking to her so she would learn to trust again. Slowly, miraculously, she did. The frightened dog began to wag her tail when he came home. She rested her head on his knee as if thanking him in a language without words. But the journey wasn't easy. One of the puppies grew sick and had to be rushed to the clinic late one night. The bills piled up, and Daniel wondered more than once if he was in over his head. Friends told him he should hand the dogs over to a shelter and move on with his life. "You've done enough," they said. Yet every time he looked into Grace's gentle eyes, he knew he couldn't quit on them. Someone else already had. He started sharing their story online, posting pictures and updates. To his surprise, people responded with overwhelming kindness. Strangers donated supplies, food, and even money to help with vet costs. Messages poured in from people touched by what he was doing. Daniel realized he wasn't rescuing them alone anymore, an entire community had joined him. Weeks turned into months. The puppies grew stronger, playful, and full of life. Grace transformed from a broken, abandoned dog into a confident, loving companion. Eventually, each puppy found a forever home with families who adored them. Saying goodbye to them was bittersweet, but Daniel knew it was the happy ending they deserved. There was one dog, however, who wasn't going anywhere. Grace had already chosen her home. On the day the last puppy was adopted, Daniel sat on his couch with Grace beside him and reflected on everything that had happened. What started as an ordinary, rainy night had turned into the most meaningful experience of his life. He had set out to save a helpless animal, but in truth, she had saved him too. He learned that kindness doesn't require experience, money, or perfection. It only requires a willing heart and the courage to care. Somewhere out there, in forgotten alleys and dark corners, there are still animals waiting for a miracle. That night, Daniel became one. And because one ordinary person chose not to look away, 5 lives were given a second chance. The world can be a harsh place. But it only takes one kind stranger to change everything.